the silver screen has featured some golden reads.
Look at this!
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 fictional books from movies.
It has been my lifelong wish that this book would never be opened.
For this list, we'll be concentrating on books that exist within film universes.
This sort of thing ain't my bag, baby.
One book, Swedish-made penis enlarger pumps and me. This sort of thing is my bag, baby.
We're basing our choices on a mix of the book's design, its supposed content, as well as its importance to the plot of the movie it's in. But we will be excluding diaries.
Stan's Grail Diary.
Number 10, The Never-Ending Story, the Never-Ending Story franchise.
But it's only a story.
That's what I'm talking about.
Based on a German novel, these films chronicle the story of a boy who finds a fictional book of the same name that is both a plot element and the setting for much of the action.
What's that book about?
Oh, this is something special.
Set in the fantasy world appropriately named Fantasia, The Never-Ending Story is, as its title states, eternal. However, it is limited by people's imagination.
Every creature of it is a piece of the dreams and hopes of mankind.
Thus, the villain, who's called the Nothing, is representative of the unwillingness to believe in the fantastic and in one's dreams.
And you must hurry, Atreyu. The Nothing grows stronger every day.
Though it may be our first entry, The Never-Ending Story is unique in that its world is likely the most vast and wonderful of all the entries that follow.
Put it back! That book asks too much of you.
Number 9, Family of Geniuses, The Royal Tenenbaums.
She wrote a book on the subject.
Wes Anderson is attentive with every detail of his films, especially when it comes to what the French call mise en scène. And literary material is often a big part of the setting and surroundings in his movies.
Raleigh and Dudley went on a lecture tour to 11 universities in the promotion of their new book.
While there's a veritable library of made-up fiction and non-fiction to choose from in The Royal Tenenbaums, let alone the rest of Anderson's filmography, our pick had to go to this tell-all memoir by the matriarch of the Tenenbaum clan, Etheline Tenenbaum.
How long have you been a smoker? 22 years. Well, I think you should quit.
It's no secret that a majority of the family's dysfunction is derived from the favoritism and neglect practiced by her estranged husband, Royal.
What's wrong with you? Damn. Ethel. Are you crazy? Ethel, baby.
But Etheline's own high expectations for her children, of which her book is emblematic, have also contributed to their various neuroses and contribute to this book's significance.
The gentleman in the blue cardigan, please.
Number 8, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
The extraordinary story of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy begins very simply.
This film is based on a series of books in which we find the fictional book for which the entire franchise is named. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is an electronic guidebook that features contributions from many field researchers, such as Ford Prefect.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a wholly remarkable book.
It's primarily used as a way of explaining things about the bizarre locales of the universe and the people that the series' protagonist, Arthur Dent, encounters.
My head is filled with questions, and I can assure you no answer to any one of them has ever brought me one iota of happiness.
In the film, these explanations are brought to life in the form of creative animations, as well as voiceovers narrated by Stephen Fry.
Space, says the introduction to The Hitchhiker's Guide, is big. Really big.
In a world where things like space travel can result in you becoming a sofa, a little explanation, especially when it's entertaining, goes a long way.
Ford?
Yes.
I think I'm a sofa.
I know how you feel.
Number 7, Isle of Naboombu, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
The Isle of Naboombu does not exist.
Oh, it does too!
The Isle of Naboombu is a children's story, which sets up the memorable middle portion of this musical fantasy that brings together live action and animation. Found by Paul in Professor Emilius Brown's house, it details the existence of the mysterious titular island that Miss Price, Brown, Paul, and his siblings travel to while in search of the medallion that's supposedly inscribed with a spell. But this isn't any ordinary children's book, as it appears to be prophetic and depicts events that happen to the group.
You got the words for these spells out of some old book, you say?
Well, more or less, I changed them round a bit.
It also contains the spell they were looking for all along, which suggests that it may have some magic of its own.
I still haven't mastered that spell.
Number 6. Mr. Babadook, the Babadook.
His name is Mr. Babadook, and this is his book.
The only pop-up book on our list, this mysterious children's story introduces us to the title monster, the Babadook, and sets the stage for the psychological horror film.
Insisted on talking to this bloody Babadook thing all day, just talking to the air. It freaked me out.
Like several of our other entries, this book is alive, but not exactly in the same way as the rest. The pop-up monster torments anyone who becomes aware of its existence, grows stronger the more someone tries to deny it's real, and is capable of possession, making for a surprisingly scary and inventive horror creature.
I don't want you to go away.
Critics have also claimed that the Babadook is representative of grief, since the protagonist, a widowed mother, shuns reminders of her husband's death, which adds to the book's complexity as a symbol in the film. Number 5. The Misery series, Misery.
You're just another lying old dirty birdie.
Fiction of all kinds can elicit fanaticism. Misery, a film based on the book of the same name by Stephen King, is one such example.
She can't be dead. Misery Chastain cannot be dead.
In both the book and the movie, Paul Sheldon is the writer of a series of romance novels starring a character named Misery Chastain. Annie Wilkes is his deranged #1 fan that ends up rescuing him from a car wreck.
My name is Annie Wilkes. Yes, that's right. I'm also a nurse.
Using her power over him in his injured state, she forces the novelist to write a return for Misery, whom Paul killed in his latest novel.
You're gonna write a new novel. Your greatest achievement ever. Misery's Return.
Kathy Bates' Oscar-winning depiction of Annie's obsession has ensured that the Misery series will remain a cautionary example of fandom gone too far.
I'll take good care of you. I'm your #1 fan.
Number 4. The Philosophy of Time Travel, Donnie Darko.
Philosophy of Time Travel. Roberta Sparrow?
Written by ex-teacher Roberta Sparrow, who, during the timeline of the film, is an apparently doddering old crone, The Philosophy of Time Travel is a book detailing, surprise surprise, time travel, which is integral to Donnie Darko's plot.
And there are chapters in that book that describe the stuff I've been seeing, and it can't just be a coincidence.
After reading the book, Donnie comes to understand why so many strange things are happening to him, which allows him to eventually accept his fatal destiny. However, very little of the book's contents are actually revealed to the audience in the theatrical cut, but the director's cut, which came out 3 years after the movie's release, contains excerpts of the philosophy and science-heavy text, and makes the supernatural psychological drama significantly easier to understand.
I've reached the end of your book, and there's so many things that I need to ask you.
Number 3. Handbook for the Recently Deceased, Beetlejuice.
Handbook for the Recently Deceased.
Deceased.
This guide for spirits, ghosts, and other beings new to the afterlife appears upon Barbara and Adam Maitland's return to their former home, which they're now destined to haunt following their deaths. However, the book is not exactly user-friendly, as the Maitlands soon discover.
This book reads like stereo instructions. Listen to this.
Many of the couple's struggles in the film are due to the book's impenetrable instructions and the generally problematic bureaucracy of the afterlife.
This book is so stupid, I can't understand anything in it.
However, the denseness of its pages becomes the least of the Maitland's problems when an unfortunate living person attempts to materialize them using directions found in the book, the unintended side effect of which is the rotting of their spiritual forms. As fate would have it, their only hope becomes the manic charlatan that gives the film its name.
Okay, have you been studying the manual?
Well, we tried.
The intermediate interface chapter on haunting says it all.
Number 2. Gray's Sports Almanac. Complete Sports Statistics 1950 to 2000. Back to the Future Part 2.
Gray's Sports Almanac.
An almanac seems like an odd thing to drive a film's plot, but drive it this one does. And not always on roads.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
The sports almanac in question contains sports statistics and scores from 1950 through 2000, which, in one timeline, allows the McFly family's nemesis, Biff Tannen, to become a gambling kingpin who turns their town into a dystopian hellhole. Though we were tempted to include A Match Made in Space, the cheesy sci-fi novel written by Marty's dad, that book was more a result of the film's plot, rather than the object around which it revolves.
He says this book will tell me the outcome of every sporting event till the end of the century.
By contrast, it's only by destroying the almanac that Marty and Doc are able to set things right.
Doc, I got it in my hand!
Burn it! Which demonstrates its importance in part 2.
Doc, that newspaper changed!
Before we reveal our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Chapter 1. You can call me Fingerling. It's not my real name. It came from a book I read as a child.
In time, the brothers reached a river too treacherous to pass. But being learned in the magical arts, the 3 brothers simply waved their wands and made a bridge.
Dragon classifications. Strike class, fear class, mystery class. Thunderdrum. This reclusive dragon inhabits sea caves and dark tide pools.
Number 1.
Necronomicon Ex Mortis.
The Evil Dead franchise.
Oh, God. Look at this.
Bound in human skin and inked in human blood, this grimoire, or Book of Magic, is the source from which much of the titular Evil Dead of this franchise originates. And is likely inspired by the similarly named fictional book invented by H.P. Lovecraft.
It deals with demons, demon resurrection, and those forces which roam the forest.
Reciting from the Book of the Dead usually results in terrors being unleashed upon the unsuspecting reader, or even anyone listening to a recording of someone reading it. With the face-like impressions on its cover, you could safely say that the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, also known as the Nacharam Demonto, has a bit more personality than most of the entries on our list. Given that it's the catalyst for nearly every event in the Evil Dead universe, as well as one of modern cult horror's most notorious antagonists, then it should come as no surprise that it's also our number 1 pick.
Groovy.
Do you agree with our list?
Yeah.
What's your favorite fictional book from film?
This thing reads like stereo instructions.
For more top 10s booked daily, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.